SideScrollers is brought to you by you. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/SideScrollers. It's time for SideScrollers on YouTube.com with me, Stuttering Craig. I like movies that have sand in them. Wow.
He doesn't like it in his mouth.
And producer extraordinaire, Travis Key.
I don't like the texture in my mouth.
What? And brought to you by you, the G2 community at patreon.com/SideScrollers. And now, broadcasting from our homes, it's time for the #1 gaming and entertainment podcast on planet Earth. It's time for SideScrollers.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, welcome on out to SideScrollers on YouTube.com and Rumble.com and Twitch.tv. For how long? We don't know. Twitch, we're not signing your terms of service. Everybody, I'm Stuttering Craig. Welcome to the #1 most important daily video game podcast on planet Earth. It's SideScrollers. Hello, everybody. Great to see you. Happy Wednesday to you. It's Hump Day. Let's introduce Travis Keys. Hello, Travis. Hump Day. Keys.
Good morning. That last bit right before we cut to go live was hilarious.
Yes. Yes.
It's going to be a great day.
What were you listening to,
Travis? Musicals.
Hamilton.
Yeah. It's actually very close to that, but that was a fandom thing. So. If anybody knows what Benjamin Franklin Time Traveler is, you are right up my alley.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
You shouldn't.
All right, sounds good. Joining us today with Blabs on vacation and Adam over at the Nerdrotic meetup over in the UK, the wonderful Melanie Mack. Hello, Melanie.
Hi. Thank you for having me back.
It's going to be such a good day. Always fun to have you on.
Thank you so much.
It's going to be, it's always fun to hear the internet shriek. You know?
It is. Some melties will happen, I'm sure.
Brains will explode.
Well, look, we got a really good show today. Really fun show. As we got some news on the new Zelda, the next Zelda, not Tears of the Kingdom, but the next Zelda, which is interesting. We're going to talk Call of Duty and their insane AI, which should scare literally everybody. Literally everybody. Apparently, there's a new scariest game ever, and I have been called a bully and a quote really mean guy by
Craig. I've been telling you this
game
since I
developer.
started working with you. You're kind of an asshole.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing how that happens. It's amazing. We're going to get into that in just a little bit. By the way, I was called that by David Jaffe, the guy behind the original Call of Duty, the new God of War, the old God of War, back on the PlayStation 2 or whatever, PlayStation 1. So it should be interesting, fun conversation. I think it's a really good conversation to have. So do us a favor, if you guys are just popping in, hit the subscribe button. If you wouldn't mind, hit the thumbs up button as well. We're trying to get to 300 thumbs up. And as always, we have our goal of 20 new members every single stream. Will we hit it today? I sure hope so. That'd be great.
Before we get started,
yes.
In the next 2 weeks, when I get the mental fortitude to do this, I'm going to throw away 80% of the shit I got and rearrange my room to give myself more space. So I'm going to put a shelf up as well to put that sword up that Winterfell sent me. And I will have more room for shit if anybody wants to send it to put up on the wall.
If you'd like to send Travis stuff, you can send it to P.O. Box 7326, Champaign, Illinois, 61826. Right there on the bottom of your screen. Send Travis stuff right there.
So if you want your shit on my wall, not actual shit, but like just drawings and stuff.
Send Travis shit.
Send it.
There it is right there on the bottom of your screen. Love that. All right. So, Melanie, you have a new project you just launched as well. You want to tell everybody about it?
Yes. So just launched it yesterday, a Bible reading channel called Bible Time with Melanie Mack. So I want to do like 5 chapters a day to get through the Bible in less than a year on that channel. But right now it's like, since it's a brand new channel, the uploads are limited to like 15 minutes or less. But at any rate, daily Bible reading uploads. I'm excited about this project for sure.
I think it's a cool idea. I was
Thank
telling you
you.
beforehand, like, just having somebody, it's like Audible, except the
Yeah.
Bible,
Yeah, and I know like some of my followers have said, that they would prefer to have the Bible read to them because, maybe they have like attention span issues and they're just having a hard time just with reading it, and they want to just listen to it. And I'm like, okay, let's do this.
Well,
Why
and
not?
this is great. I've noticed as I've gotten older, I used to have a book collection of like 800 books. I used to read a lot.
Right.
But as I've gotten older, I don't have the attention span because I got so much other
Yep.
stuff I got to do. So it's good to listen to an audiobook while I'm doing my other stuff. And I enjoy that greatly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so head on over there and check out the new Bible Time with Melanie Mack. Whether you're religious or not, maybe it's good to listen to this stuff,
And that's what I like to stress to people is like, you don't have to be a Christian to be on that channel and to listen to me read the Bible. Like I welcome everybody there. So
Many faiths have the Bible in their faith. So
right. And if you don't want to, you don't need to. You don't need to. I think
right.
that's the
Yeah.
wonderful thing about it. So
I won't make you listen to me, but if you want to, the option is there.
it's not like you're knocking on people's door.
Exactly. Hey, have you subscribed to my channel?
That's
I
awesome.
wonder how, in today's day and age, how that would work if you went around and knocked, hey, subscribe to my YouTube channel. What kind of reactions you get?
That's right.
Somebody should do that on film. See what people probably look at you like you're fucking nuts.
Right. Yeah.
Ethan comes in and says, "Where's Craig's Quran reading channel?" Right? Like, I think I guarantee there's some Quran reading channel. Some
there probably are.
I
Yeah.
guarantee there is.
If I'm not mistaken, Muslims also believe that the Bible was true, correct?
I don't know.
I
can't
think
speak
there's
for
some degree that they do. I
Yeah.
know they believe in Jesus, but in
He
a
was a
different
prophet or whatever.
capacity. Right. So
Yeah.
there is a little bit of that there, I think.
Yeah. Interesting. I think that's a really interesting idea. A long time ago, my probably, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, I wanted to do a channel built around reading children's books because I'd read kids read my kids books at night. So I would just
Not in drag though, right?
no. This was just it was not drag time story hour. No.
Now we should have that for adults. We need to get Craig to do that. But
Good. Listen, there's nothing. I've been talking about doing a SideScrollers event for a long time. Talking about like a goal.
Craig
of like
drag
adult,
story hour.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. I'm
reading like
that.
3 Little Pigs or something like that.
I can do your makeup.
All right.
Somebody in chat said, I want Trav Mormon hour. Well, you could just go listen to Melanie read the Bible because Mormons believe that the Bible is true. They just also have the Book of Mormon.
Right.
It's so funny. Oh my God. Love that idea. Hey, tomorrow we're going to I'm going to do a one-on-one interview with Salty Cracker. Melanie, do you know who Salty Cracker is?
Sounds so familiar. I think I've seen some tweets or something from Salty Cracker.
Salty has been around for a while. I've never actually spoken to him. I would say he has gaming in his roots, but I'd say he's a fairly political guy.
Okay.
His entire channel is built around, just culture and politics and stuff. And this is kind of where I want to go with the one-on-one stuff is the one-on-one interviews is I want to talk to creators from all aspects of the internet, not just in gaming and entertainment.
Oh yeah.
But he's a pretty polarizing dude. And I like to talk to him about it. I'm really excited to kind of go through it and talk about his journey online. He has almost 1 million subs on YouTube, but a lot of things that he says on YouTube can't even be talked about on YouTube. He's one of those free speech Rumble guys, right? So
okay.
yeah, you can see the Salt Army in the chat. Those who those who know. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to have them on tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes.
right.
Dude came in with a $1 Rumble rant. Says, call it Crag Time Story Hour. Listen, I will not I will not be in a dress anytime soon, guys. Appreciate that. And then next Thursday, I'll be interviewing Razor Fist, which should be a really
awesome.
it's gonna
That'll
good.
be great.
So Thursdays are going to be, we're trying to morph those into our interview days. So we'll see how it goes. Today, I'm not sure. Usually we're live on the Side Scrollers Plays channel after Side Scrollers. I got some work I got to get done for projects that don't have to do with Side Scrollers. So I may or may not be live this afternoon. Usually we have Blabs Versus on Wednesdays, but Blabs is in Australia. So we will not be doing that today. So, but Blabs has been sending me updates, and Blabs wanted to let everybody know exactly what she's doing in Australia. So let's enjoy this 20 seconds with Blabs straight from Australia. What's going on, Blabs?
Okay, hi guys. I'm at the Royal Adelaide Fair, which is like an agricultural show.
It's called the Royal Adelaide Show, not
Whatever.
the fair.
It's fair. And I am with the best in show. My people.
Aww.
And guess which one the pig is?
Shut up. Anyway. Hi everybody.
So now you know. There you go.
It's a pig. That's amazing.
Blabs spending time at the fair, which is great.
She's great.
Yeah, Blabs is funny for sure. She's great, and I'm sure she's having a great time down there. She's going to try to send us little updates and blips every day or every other day or whenever she wants to. So that's great.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So there you go. Let's see. Trav, anything else before we get into the news today?
Nope.
All right, sounds good. Melanie, anything else we need to talk about before we get into the news today?
No, I'm good. Let's go.
All right. And it's time for my favorite segment, your favorite segment, everybody in the world's favorite segment. It's time for hard news. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Paul. All right, so we just had a new Zelda released a few months ago. It was originally supposed to be last year, and then it was released this year. And Tears of the Kingdom just blew everybody's freaking mind. Melanie, have you played any the new Zelda?
I have, and I just, I really liked Breath of the Wild, but Tears of the Kingdom, I just am struggling to get into.
Really?
I don't like all the Bob the Builder stuff around it and all that. I feel like I do want more of a normal Legend of Zelda experience, for sure.
Well, news came out that they're already talking about the next Zelda, which is kind of interesting with this just being released. But this came out this morning out of Famitsu. Do you know Famitsu, the major Japanese gaming magazine over there?
I've heard of them. Yeah, they've been around a while, haven't they?
Forever.
Yeah.
They're like I don't know. They've been around since the 80s, forever.
Mm-hmm.
They are the source of gaming news in Japan. But there was an interview that said the next Zelda will offer. This is kind of an interesting phrase, but a quote new experience. And Nintendo has no Tears of the Kingdom DLC plans, like zero.
Wow.
That blows my fucking mind. Just imagine how much money they could make just on DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It actually blew my mind that they didn't make Tears of the Kingdom DLC for Breath of the Wild, but...
Well, I think this is the idea of a game launching and having zero DLC in 2023 is absolutely amazing.
Well,
yeah.
And I guess maybe DLC is usually a little cheaper than the original game, so maybe this is a way to maximize profits instead of releasing DLC at half the price or 3/4 of the price. Make it a new game.
Right.
So they said, and this is Anamuna, who he is the executive producer of the game. So he said at this time we are not planning to release additional content. We feel like we've already fully explored and exhausted the gameplay possibilities in the world. Initially, the reason we decided to develop a sequel was because we believed there was still value in experiencing new gameplay within that particular Hyrule. And I think that's a interesting way of saying it. Like the idea of like this world.
It's like a multiverse.
Right. says in the future, if in the future we find a compelling reason, we may revisit that world once again.
See,
Whether
this right here, this part. So this tells me they're going to come out with a new, different game,
Mhm.
and then later on they're going to release part 2 of this game on the next system or whatever. You know what I
Ooh.
mean? And then they have multiple Zelda assets going at the same time at that point.
Well, I mean, they always have multiple Zelda games going on at the same time. You know, whether it's a 2D game or a 3D game, they always have something going on. But
See, do you guys think they're gonna do, you know, how they with the Wii U and the GameCube and the Wii, and then the Wii U and the
Switch.
Wii, or whatever it was, but they had like Twilight Princess for one, and then the other they had Breath of the Wild for Wii U, and then the other.
Oh,
Do you
Oh,
think they're gonna
100%.
do something like
so
that as well?
that's interesting. I think that actually makes sense. So with the next console, it's like, okay, here's a fresh Zelda for the next console. That does make sense.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they will also then release Tears of the Kingdom for the next console and then do the updates and the DLC.
Right. Okay.
Well, I mean, I think they'll certainly port Tears of the Kingdom to the new console just to show off the the power of whatever console it is. They'll do that just like they ported over all the Wii U games to the Switch. You know, that'll definitely happen. But you know, I think that there's no bones about that for sure. But the
Side
idea,
note, when they do that, one of those copies always becomes a super rare one and skyrockets in price. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind.
I'm curious what they mean by like new as well, because for some reason I just had in my head, okay, new Zelda, they're probably going to try to go more back to the roots. But with this implying that, hey, this is going to be a new experience, it's like, okay, what are they going to come up with now?
right?
Well,
Well,
and if it's a new experience, is it not that same art style or in that same world? Is it a new timeline? Is it going to be more
Right.
like Wind Waker, or is it going to be something completely new? You know?
Well, what's interesting though is it's been widely thought that the way that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have been put out there, this was the future of Zelda.
Right.
That's widely reported. Like, this is the open world nature of Zelda that you see in these games. This is the future. But this sentence in particular totally contradicts that. He says,
Well,
whether it's another sequel.
before you read that, what you just said, Craig, that made sense. I thought they were going to go the way of GTA 2 and just keep adding to, you know, the realm that they made and keep it this big world and just add more shit to it over time.
Right. He says, whether it's another sequel or an entirely new title, I believe the next game will offer a completely new experience. I hope you'll look forward to it. Yeah, that's the completely new experience, whether it's a graphical style or no building or you know, going back to, you know, a 2D overhead view. I don't know. There's a lot there.
Doesn't that, to me, that implies multiple of those things, not just one.
Right.
A complete new experience would mean something's like you've
Totally
never
different.
seen before.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm
Chat-
thinking too.
Chat, would you like to see a new 2D Zelda or a new 3D Zelda?
What
Let
if
me know
they
in the
do
chat.
both? They make a game where you can play 3D and 2D, where you could have the 3D game and then go above and look down as a 2D game.
Yeah. Interesting.
Oh, Mike has bad niece came in with an interesting theory with a $5 super chat. It says, new experience, Zelda will be the hero saving Link. And
I've been
Nintendo will go
waiting.
woke.
I've been waiting for that game. It's bound to happen. Now, I would not be happy with that. I would rather, if Zelda's going to have her own story, not flip-flop it, because then that's
Yes.
just,
I agree.
yeah. Just have
Yeah.
her have her own story. Make up a
I
good
agree.
story for her.
See, that I would be okay with. If she had her own story, that could be fun. But if
Maybe
it's
she has to go save her dad or something.
yeah, exactly. I would be okay with something like that. That could be cool.
Or maybe she has a younger sister.
There we
You
go.
know, you never know.
I think that if they made a game that was built around that idea of a Zelda rescuing Link, number one, I don't think Link would ever be captured. Link would be killed immediately, right? If he's the hero of time, if he was ever captured, they would just immediately kill him. So Zelda wouldn't. I mean, in a real life scenario, I realize we're dealing in fictional, right?
Right. It could be lost and she's looking for him, but
Mm-hmm.
that's pushing it. When you try to flip it the normal traditional story like that, there's a
Yeah.
reason you're doing it, and it's to flip those traditional, man woman things. A woman can be strong, just have her do her own story. You don't
Right.
have to be have to be the same story the man had. I think
Mhm.
that belittles women myself.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
Lucario came in and says, I'm with you. Why can't we have a Zelda origin story, like how she became princess to begin with?
I'm Blabs today.
Yeah. Just so you know, Blabs is being played by Melanie Mack today.
I'm doing a good job, apparently. Harry Potter stuff. I wish I knew more about Harry Potter so I could really, take this to the next level, but unfortunately I don't.
But yeah, and Yellow Flash says we have that. It's called Skyward Sword. Right. I actually enjoyed the Skyward Sword games, but it's
Zelda went on her own adventure in Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword was the, if I believe it was
I
the
never
Wii
played
game.
it. So
Yeah,
it was the one that you had to, and I believe you jumped off the little island mountains and you could float down and all that.
But I love the music in that game. Loved it. It was that game is thought of as like kind of a redheaded stepchild to the Zelda franchise because it's on the Wii and there's motion controls and stuff. I love Skyward Sword. I don't give a damn what anybody says about that. So
yeah, see, Mad Monkey said Skyward Sword was Link. Yeah, see, I don't remember her having her own story. If they're gonna have her own story, it should have nothing to do with Link.
Right.
She should be out on a boat with her dad or something while Link's back doing his thing in Hyrule, and the boat crashes. Dad's missing. She's got to go save Dad.
I like it.
Vintalo just comes in and says The Legend of Link. I mean, that would be
you'd have to swap the name out.
Well, I mean, look, that game is several years away. I mean, they just launched the new game right now, so we'll see what they do with Zelda.
I'm excited.
Yeah, they could call it The Legend of Zelda's Dad.
True.
Legend of Zelda's Dad.
The Legend of the King.
There we go.
Yeah, I really like that idea of her having her own story. I just don't think you need to copy anything.
Right. Yep.
Let's move on to our next story here. This one is kind of terrifying. We've talked about AI at great length. Speaking of our Australian friends, they are pretty good about using AI down there. I've been talking with some of our Aussie colleagues, and we heard a few weeks ago, Melanie, one of our friends created a voiceover of me that sounded exactly like me reading off. I don't even remember what I was reading, but
yeah, the only difference was the intonation, right? So when the videos it was fed was a lot of our openings where Craig's talking real loud like this, so sometimes it was a little yelling. But I think if it's fed more of him talking and less of the intro, it would have been spot fucking on.
Wow.
So it's interesting. So AI is a very crazy tool that I think we all kind of need to embrace and also be terrified of. As Call of Duty is embracing it for their next game, and they have a new AI-powered tool for voice moderation called Talks Mod that will listen to players' chats. So everything that's said in a game lobby will be listened to via Talks Mod, and it will report negative things that are said to real life people. So that's kind of scary.
I just see so many issues with this because when I say somebody's bricked up, how many people in the chat knows what that means? You know what I'm saying? So how's an AI going to know that if half the people watch it don't know that?
Right. Good point. But also, I think this just takes away a lot of the dynamic of gamer culture in general. Now, I think there's obvious cases if people are actually being threatened and things of that nature. But I think of gaming, and especially competitive gaming like Call of Duty or something similar to sports. And a part of that is the smack talk. it just raises the stakes even more. It makes things even more intense. And then when you see in these games, a lot of times even they will be like going after each other. The smack talk will be insane. And then after the game is done, they're adding each other to their friends list.
Yeah.
So this is according to a company blog from Call of Duty. The next major Call of Duty release will use AI to observe and report report on toxic voice chat in multiplayer matches. Specifically, Activision is deploying ToxMod, a bit of AI tech developed by a company called Modulate, to make sure people aren't super racist while gunning down each other in team deathmatch. It says, for what it's worth, ToxMod is interesting, if nothing else. Modulate claims ToxMod can listen to conversational context to determine whether or not something is truly hate speech.
See, I don't think it's going to be able to, because think about this. English is an ever-evolving thing, right?
Mhm.
And especially the English language in general. So what if somebody calls me a fairy? So now they're going to ban the word fairy,
Oh,
right?
good point.
So nobody could talk about fairies. So, or like I said, being bricked up. Now brick is removed. So
Yeah.
now you can't say fairy, can't say brick. How's the list? And then somebody could be having a normal everyday conversation, and this thing's going to think they're calling somebody some racist thing or what, because what's racist changes day to day, and how people use words changes
Mhm.
day to day.
Well, the word police are here. As ToxMod also claims it'll be able to detect grooming language, which sounds great. Oh, for white supremacist groups.
But not for everybody else. Everybody
Right.
else is allowed to groom.
Right. Like that's like, what? Okay. Like, totally understand that. That's fine. But how about for, I don't know, the like one of the biggest, scariest things happening in the world right now? It's amazing.
Wow.
Modern Warfare 3 will be by far the game's biggest game ToxMod has been deployed on, of course. One thing to note, however, is that the software itself does not punish players for hate speech. Instead, it merely reports violation to the Call of Duty game code of conduct, and humans at Activision will take it further.
Well,
So-
then again, still the point, are those people up to lingo on
Mhm.
every, because I find it hard to keep track, and I'm 30 whatever, to what young people are saying half the
Right.
time, and that makes me sound very old and grandpa-ish. But it's half the time I'm like, what the fuck did they just say? And I have to go Google. Oh, that's what that means. Now I know. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
this goes back to what was acceptable to some, what's acceptable to some people may not be acceptable to others, right?
Right.
And the idea of, there's an, I think the response to what you said, Melanie, as far as this being a part of culture, people will say it's a toxic gaming culture, right? It's toxic. Don't you want to remove all the toxic gamers? And it's like, if you were to scale that to literally any other walk of life, right?
Mhm.
Any sort of competitive environment, whether it's sports, whether it's cooking, whether like let's say there's
Yeah.
a cooking competition, right? And you remove people's ability to more or less talk shit.
Mhm.
That's going to make things very vanilla and very bland.
Very boring.
yeah.
Right.
And on the other end, now I just thought about this. So slang changes over time too.
Yeah.
So slang from the 90s means something completely different
Yeah.
today than it did in the 90s. So if I use 90s slang, being an older person, that sounds funny, a middle-aged person, am I going to get banned because young people think it means something hateful and I don't because I'm older?
Right.
Well, go
But
ahead.
then
Mel.
also things are just different too, because like, back in the day, people would be offended about women being called the female dog word, but now it's not. It's normalized. It's fine. So things are constantly changing with that as well. But not only that, but I'm thinking of like, hey, what if I'm gaming with my friends and they're making jokes to me about get back in the kitchen, haha, that's funny. It's all in good fun, but because okay, they're gonna label them sexist and punish them for something when it's a bunch of friends playing and just roasting each other.
Yeah,
Right.
this has always been part of games since I was
Mhm.
3 years old, sitting there with my 4-year-old brother playing dodgeball on the NES.
Right.
So it's as pointed out right here, as Blake says, will it understand hard R versus A? Right. Like,
True.
I mean, these are legit
Love it.
questions to ask, you know.
Or what if I'm playing with my gay friend and I call him a fag?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
Travis, you're a horrible person. I mean, I think that's
Well,
that's
you
obvious.
know what I'm saying, though? And then we get
Right.
flagged for it. Well, I'm
Right.
gay, he's gay, we're friends. We do
Mhm.
that.
Right.
As Ben says, oh, where's Ben at? I just had Ben.
Yes, I do like cooking.
Ben says, what about the N word
Yes,
said by a black person?
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Like
And
if
can
I
AI differentiate by your intonation if you're black or white? Sounds a little bit racist.
or if I was to call Travis a no good honky,
Or a
right?
cracker.
Like,
Right.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like those things. It's like, you know, am I going to be labeled? Or maybe that's, I don't know. And once again, it says that it's only able to detect grooming language for white
And,
supremacist
the
groups.
grooming thing is like really weird because how do you like? It's hard for normal people to differentiate grooming language. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
it takes place over time. It's subtle things over time that eventually change the person's way of thinking. So how could you differentiate grooming language?
Yikes! That's all I have
Unless
to
it's
say
like
about this.
direct grooming language. You know what I'm saying? But most groomers don't do it directly. Like I said, it's over time.
Well, and I think the larger issue here is the idea that, yeah, as you said, I'm assuming, I've never groomed anybody, but I'm assuming that, as you said, you know, it takes place over time. But what is to determine if you don't think that people aren't going to find ways around saying certain things? You know,
Right.
you can say things on YouTube, but on Rumble that you can't say on YouTube, right?
Mhm.
You talk about COVID, right? So people were
Yeah.
saying the coof or you know, whatever, the flu or whatever it may be, because you couldn't say that word on YouTube. So people found ways around it, right? People will absolutely find ways around it. So you're going to ban those words?
Well, and that was my point. Like it's so if I use a word and they don't like it, and then it gets to a human, what if that human doesn't understand the word
Yes.
that I used it in? Because words have multiple meanings now.
Mhm. And especially if
what I
they
mean?
hire like a deer person like Twitch does. I don't know if you guys know the context of that. They hired basically a furry, I don't know, some dude wearing deer antlers and who identified as a deer. So,
well, and what if it's say that person, what if they are anti-religious or they're
right.
agnostic or whatever,
Mhm.
and so a religious person says something on there, is that
Yep.
then deemed hateful to them
Exactly.
just because of their own viewpoint?
Right. Right on.
Right. So Sonic says, oh, come on, folks. N-word is a no-go for white folks. This is not that hard. Well, of course not.
But how do you
Well,
determine who's white when you're playing a video game?
exactly.
Right.
And Mike has bad knees in the chat says, does AI know if I give Melanie an N-word pass?
Well, well, and like I said, and then if they make that determination by how somebody speaks, that
Right.
in and of itself
Isn't
is
that
racist.
Yes.
Right.
Like, whoa, you're not speaking with enough, like,
You sound black.
you don't sound black
You
enough.
know, right?
Like, yeah, when you start to play
Jeez.
Call of Duty, do you go in and have to put your ethnicity in it? Like,
Right. Or you have to use the face scan you have to use a camera to scan your face so it can detect how much melanin is in your skin.
that's crazy, man. Oh, it's awesome. All right,
They got a
Gizmo.
DNA test. Just send it
Right.
for whatever
Yeah,
that
it's gonna take your blood
his
sample.
ancestry DNA or whatever. Jeez.
Gizmo Hibiki says certain words are banned, then slang terms, then phrases, then insults outright. When does it end?
Yes.
Gizmo, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
like absolutely where to use this. Queer was a slur not too long ago.
Exactly.
And would you be reported for using it? But now we have queer eye for the straight guy. And you know what I mean? Like,
it's
I don't
literally an
know.
LGBTQ.
Things are
Yeah.
constantly changing with all that. Like certain terms for women that were deemed sexist are not anymore. And so it's just constantly changing.
As pointed out, Alex says the slippery slope is undefeated.
Yep.
That's right. And also Junior came in with a 5. Thank you so much, Junior. Greatly appreciate that. It says, I'll just use Spanish slurs if the AI comes into effect.
Well, and that's the thing. Can they differentiate in other languages now? So could
Mhm.
somebody cuss me out in Russian and that's okay? Well, and here's the thing. What about Mandarin? There's 16 different fucking iterations of Mandarin. How you going to figure that out?
Mhm.
Well, look, I listen, at the
What
end of
about,
the day,
what about Indian languages? What about Cherokee?
Mhm.
oh, they'll be able to tell that for sure. All that's going to be able to be told for sure. That's crazy. GK says AI interpretation of speech is currently autistic. The fact that, and going back to the AI version of what that was put together of my voice, it had me speaking Russian, it had me speaking German. These
Mhm.
are languages that I have no idea, never even have any idea how to speak, but it did sounded like me speaking these things. So, I mean, whether it's English, whether it's Spanish, whether it's whatever, they'll have a filter for all that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
isn't our world getting crazy with this AI shit? So people can make you say
Yes.
anything you want. Games are like listening to you and trying to decipher what you're saying for the AI.
Mhm.
So, and here's what I'm thinking now. So this AI thing is listening to you this whole time. Is it recording what you're saying over and over, and now can it mimic your voice?
Oh, that's a good
Because
question.
it has to review what everybody says, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
well, I think that's we briefly touched on this when
And
this
that
first
well,
came
and
out.
they sell everybody's information online now. So isn't that your information? Maybe they want to sell your
True.
voice, and you sign a
True.
terms of service.
These are questions that should be asked. I don't think these are illogical questions to be asked.
I just foresee some time in the future that this stuff gets abused and some people start saying stuff that they didn't actually say.
Mhm.
I wonder. Let's see if there's a website. ToxMod. Yeah, there is. Okay, I would love to reach out to these people and
I
ask them
wonder,
about it.
ask them if they sell people's information. That would answer my question immediately.
Yep.
Do you sell people's information
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do
for
that.
profit?
I'm going to. They have a phone number and everything. I would love to get them on the phone and ask them these questions. These are like legitimately important questions to ask. How does this work? Maybe it's not ToxMod. Maybe it is Call of Duty. But the idea of, number
But
one, that they're listening to everything that's said.
maybe ToxMod is listening to it and Call of Duty's
Mhm.
logging it and selling your information.
Right.
Right.
You never know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I just think at the end of the day, when it comes to in-game chat, it's like if you can't take the heat, then just don't use voice chat. You don't have to use it. And so overly policing it to this kind of degree is ridiculous because it's a feature that not everybody has to participate in the first place.
Shane came in, says all this can be summed up by one phrase: the road to hell is paved through with good intentions. Right.
True that.
Mhm.
Shane nailed it, man, for sure. I mean, like I said, all this in theory is these are all fine ideas. We're going to remove toxicity from the game. Okay, great. How are we going to do that? By clamping everything down to where you can't say anything.
Well,
Mhm.
you guys remember in V for Vendetta, how the UK was? That's where we're going to end up if this
Right.
shit keeps going on. They're hearing everything you say. You play a game, they're listening. You're
Yep.
on the phone, they listen. You're
Mhm.
walking down the street, they're listening. They're X-raying your fucking houses. They already do that.
Yep.
They X-ray people's houses.
Mhm.
You're just a crazy conspiracy theorist, Travis. But don't you even talk about that. That's crazy.
I think that's just going to be bad business in general too with the AI monitoring everything. When you make chat where where they don't feel free to just have fun and play the game and just let loose. Look at things like we talked about the last time I was on the show. We talked about social media and threads. Look how quick threads just plummeted because, hey, this is a forced positivity space. And that's boring and people aren't going to want to hang out around that and they're going to go elsewhere where they can be themselves.
Yeah, that's why Twitter is so huge. It's all the
Yep.
controversy that, if all the shit didn't trend of all the controversies, would Twitter be so huge? No.
Right.
Lucario asked, this is a separate question, but I want to make sure I get this donation in. It says, so when, if, are you going to do a deep dive into the music of Legend of Zelda? I have so many suggestions for that list, and there's going to be a lot of great tracks. Well, on Thursdays, I'm doing my my music streams over on Rumble. So maybe next week, Lucario. Maybe next week we go into Zelda music. Should be great. Excuse me. Henry came in, says, with the $25 direct donation, says, we should get to bully Crag soon because I'm intrigued by this accusation. If anyone bullies, it's myself, Nikki, and CEO with hard resets. Henry, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And we're going to get to that in just a second. But I think this is a good conversation. That's next on our docket list.
Have we got any subs today?
No. We are looking for
0 on the way to 20 with 0.
Yes. we gotta
Come on,
get our
let's
new
do
members
this.
today.
Hi, Camelot in chat.
What's up, Cam? How are you, buddy?
Hey, Cam.
Hal came in with the 10. Says minor antidote. Where is it? In some online game. Antidote. Minor antidote from minor. How do I say it, Melanie? Anecdote. I can read real good like. In some online games, I tried writing poof in reference to someone disappearing. It got censored. I tried again and I got banned. That's how I learned it's a slur.
I didn't know that was a slur.
Poof is a slur?
For
What?
who?
I gotta find out what that is.
It might be like a gay slur or something, but I've never even heard it.
Yeah, let's find
it
out.
said a derogatory term used to describe a homosexual originating from the sound of a homosexual's fart.
Yeah, I've never heard that. So if a gay person doesn't know, like,
For real.
is it really a gay slur?
For real.
Damn, Hal. I'm sorry you got poofed out of there. That's rough. God dang, that's ridiculous.
I had Spotify remove a playlist name. I called it New Digs. Like it was a new playlist, and it got removed like it was offensive. I spelled it like Diggs, but I'm like, is that a slur or something I don't know about, or is that AI tripping? I don't get it.
What? Oh my god.
Yeah, it got deleted.
I don't even understand what world we live in today. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Shane says, I was called a potato when I first started playing Apex Legends. I haven't been able to eat mashed potatoes since. Shane, I'm sorry. Sorry for your...
And is that a racist joke?
That's got to be a slur now.
Right.
Potato.
Because it's referring to the color of his skin, right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Brom came in and says, if all words are offensive, then no words are offensive.
Yeah, and like I said, when somebody wants to call you something offensive and can't use certain words, they will make any word offensive.
Yep.
That's crazy. Hey, we're on our way as Stardust Viking came in with 10 gifted memberships to the channel. That puts us at 10 for the day. We're trying to get to 20 new members every single show. Give it up for Stardust Viking with the 10 gifted memberships. If you got gifted memberships,
Yay!
Way to be Stardust.
For the goal.
You rock.
Love that. That's awesome. Greatly appreciate that, Stardust Viking. We're now 10 away from hitting our goal. Let's get it going. Ventalo came in and says, poof, 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 poof. Okay, you can ban me now. No,
couldn't that also be a slur against women in that same vein, I guess?
Or would that be queef?
True.
Well, I think people have called other people you queef. You know, like
yeah.
I was just thinking that he was talking about cotton candy anyway. So
yeah. I was thinking of magic Harry Potter spells.
Poof. Right.
Or you guys remember the old 60s Batman? Biff. Buff.
Yeah.
He's hitting people. Yeah.
I'm pretty positive it said boof or poof in it.
I think I remember one that said like wank.
Oh my god. It's ridiculous. I don't even understand it. It's ridiculous. All right. Speaking of things I don't understand. I don't understand because I don't know. I wanted to get into this. So we had a really good discussion on Monday about the Starfield stuff that was happening and Heels versus Babyface. His name is Az. I've never had an interaction with him.
Oh, he's the best.
I know that he was very passionate
Yeah.
about the pronouns in Starfield. It went viral over on Twitter. It blew up. People went crazy talking about it. Either you were like, yeah, or you were like, yeah. Saw a lot of that, but we had a really good discussion about it on Monday. We had Dan on, and we had Desiree, and Dan was the one who actually triggered all the conversation after he tweeted a link to Az in his rant. And we had a lot of I read some thread, a couple responses as to why specifically he may have been upset. The idea that this was more than just Starfield. This was kind of
Right.
the tipping point for Az. And I think that's one thing that when people watch that, they just see this guy getting angry and yelling at a monitor and yelling at a screen. But
Well, and people think that was just after the intro with the pronouns, but that was after he'd played the game for hours as well. So he was upset about a number of things. It wasn't just that.
right.
Well, and also if they promote this game to their fans, there are hardcore fans for this company, and they promote this game as just their normal game that they always make, just in this genre. You know what I mean? And they don't tell you this is going to be a part of the game and all that. And then some people might be upset when they buy the game, buy it early, waste more money and time and all that, and it's there. If they don't want that there, they should have just been upfront with it.
So Ben says the Azrant got 40 million views on TikTok. Right?
Wow.
Really?
So,
Jesus.
Wow.
So there's, it was a big point of conversation over the last weekend or so.
I need
it
to go repost that a few times.
Yeah.
Get some of them views, dude.
So it's it was an interesting point of conversation, and I think that I think we had a pretty nice conversation about it that represented the idea of why he could have been upset, right? And I haven't spoken to him. I don't know him personally, but I think the idea was that it was more than just Starfield. It was an amalgamation of everything kind of coming together. So I made an analogy about the personal pronouns thing, and it wasn't necessarily about Starfield. It was just about pronouns in general, right? And now, obviously, personal pronouns were very hot based off of the pronoun thing in Starfield. But I thought that it was worth kind of discussing the idea of it. And so over on the SideScrollers Twitter handle @SideScrollerPod, we posted this. It just says the most accurate call metaphor for preferred pronouns any reasonable person can understand. And
now, we also have to keep in mind that you were saying this after you were referring to it happening in all forms of media, all media, right? It's not just this, because I think that's where some people get confused. They think you're just talking about this game.
Right. And I'm speaking about the bombardment as a whole of this. So let's go listen.
Mediums, right?
So this video got passed around, and it has like 150,000 views or something on Twitter. It's small potatoes compared to Az's video, but I think it's important for the context of what we're going to watch here in just a minute. So let's just say Mormons walk up to your house and they knock on your door, right? I think Mormon, because that's what we see down here in Texas. You see Mormons walk up to your house and they knock on your door and they say, "Hey, can I share with you the word of Christ?" or whatever it may be, right? And you say, "No, thank you, I'm good." And then they turn and they walk away and they go to the next house. What would happen if 5 minutes later they walk back up and they said, "Hi, can I share with you the word of Christ?" You'd be like, "No, thank you. You were just here. You can go." And then what happens when 10 minutes later they show up again and they say, "Hey, can I share with you the word of Christ?" It'd get really fucking annoying, right? That's kind of what it feels like just with all this stuff. It's just it's a constant bombardment of people knocking at your door, showing up in your video game, showing up in your entertainment. That's the best metaphor that I can give. Okay. So there's the metaphor that I gave.
Well, and I think your metaphor makes sense because trans people and gay people, and I'll speak for myself again, are such a small amount of the population that you should see that percentage in games, right? So
Mhm.
if gay people are 7% of the population, I don't know what it is. Say we're 7% of the population, 7% of options should be towards gay people in
Mhm.
games. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I spoke of it from a larger perspective, right? And obviously, Starfield was, was the hot topic, and pronouns played a big role in the conversation with Starfield. Well, I mentioned it kind of got passed around, and David Jaffe, who was the developer of the original God of War series, he streams, and he had a little response to that, and I wanted to go through. This is about 10 minutes long, and I think it's important for us to watch it. We'll watch it in like time and a quarter, so we don't have to do the full 10 minutes. But
Before we start, can I read this Rumble rant?
Sure.
It was for the last conversation. That's why. Dude with $1, the removal of pre and post game lobbies already ruined most online games to me. Now they want to use AI to remove the few people who still talk in game. There's a reason I play single player only now. So.
Yep, I feel you.
There you go. And while we're doing that, I want to let you know that God hates left-handed people came out with the with the super sticker. Really appreciate that. And Market Reality says Wicked Virtue supporters call her potatoes, or are called potatoes. Heck, I am a potato. Thank you for that. And then we have reached our goal as Henry Davis has came in with 10 gifted memberships. Let's go.
Way to be, Henry.
That's awesome.
Oh,
and,
an activist.
Let's go.
There we go.
Our archivist came in.
Oh, I read that as activist.
We're all very good at reading.
We're just used to the activism.
For
so
real,
much.
it's everywhere.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about guys. Thank you very much for your support. That puts us at 21 members today. But I wanted to talk about this and go through his response to this, because I think I don't want to yell about this. This is I think a great opportunity to actually have a conversation. And before we do this, I actually would love to invite him on the show to actually have this conversation. So I'll reach out to him privately. I'll reach out to him on Twitter and ask if he'd like to come on the show, because I think it's important to have these conversations. He seems pretty level-headed about it, right? Outside of kind of the digs that he has.
Because I've had a disagreement with him before over this. Happened last year. He was mad about people who were criticizing Brie Larson, for example, in Captain Marvel, and he was saying everybody who basically saying that you're a misogynist if you don't like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. And again, this is over a year ago, so I'm probably butchering whatever that was, but it was along that same vein. And I made a video about it, and I think I did go a little hard at him, and I was like, oh, champion of women, blah, 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 just doing that kind of thing. And well, he reacted to it on his stream, and he was, clapped back. And after I watched everything, I was like, oh, okay. I reached out to him and I said, hey, you know what? I did, come at you a little hard. And then, I'm going to unlist the video. And then he was like, oh, I'm going to unlist mine too. All is good. No hard feelings. I think he can actually be reasoned with, as opposed to a lot of other people out there. So I do think that while he has a lot of these, woke opinions on things that I completely disagree with, I don't think, at least from what I've seen, and I haven't seen everything, but I don't think he's the type that wants everybody who disagrees with him to have their entire livelihoods ruined and this, that, and the other. That's not the impression that I get anyway.
Right.
Well, and this is personal to him as well, because his child is trans and all that. So I see where his passion comes from, and I see why it bothers him. Now, I may disagree, but I can see that.
Right. And I think, look, I've been a big advocate for conversation, and that's something that is sorely missing. We've talked about that many, many times on the show, and we're going to talk to people that you may not agree with, that we may not agree with.
Right.
But I think it's important to have those conversations.
Yeah.
So with all that said, I think that it would be, I will reach out to him and see if he'd like to come on the show to have this conversation, because, there are things that he says in this video that he kind of lumps what other people say on a thread and he attributes them to me, and I don't say these things. So, he's kind of lumping things in, and I feel like
right.
he's mischaracterizing what I'm saying. And I think
Well-
could be based off of, his emotional
Mhm.
emotional input or his emotional connection to this.
Well, and
So-
this morning, it's like when what you and I were saying before the show, I think he only watched that clip and
Right.
not the entire podcast, because we talked about 80% of the stuff that he speaks about in his response. And I think we talked about it very calmly and clearly. And I don't think we were that wrong. I think, yes, you can disagree with us, but I think there's middle ground. And I think this is the perfect, like you said, the perfect kind of person to talk to find the middle ground where we can agree.
Right. Well, we'll make the invite, but I do think it's important to watch this video, and we'll kind of go from there. So, but before we do, I want to let you know that Captain Anonymous Weasel says, just want to say thanks for showing both sides and not just one. Keep up the good work. Well, I'll tell you this. Before we get into this, I greatly appreciate that. And there have been times that it has been very hard to do that. And what's amazing about trying to show, both sides is that each side only hears what they want to hear.
Mhm.
And then they label you the other side.
Right.
So the left hears what we're saying and they say, oh, you right-wing bigots, right? And the right says, well, you're not going hard enough, or whatever it may be. So it's pretty amazing. And so, that's why your sport is so appreciated. Because we're fighting. I was telling this to my wife. I feel like I'm like trying to roll a ball up a hill, and it keeps getting steeper and steeper and steeper with every conversation that we have. So, it is what it is. So,
Do you remember what I said about you have to fight your own side, otherwise views won't change? I think when you try to have conversations with both sides and try to meet in the middle, then you get the fight that you would have had on this side and the fight you would have had on this side at the same time. So it makes it even harder.
Right.
Salty Source Rex came in. Good to see you, buddy. He says, it is annoying to see these people permeate pronouns affect people's outside of video games. It's being taught in schools to kids and in jobs. Why does using a pronoun matter to mechanics? I quit and started my independent shop. Wow. So at a mechanic shop, they were asked, like, yeah.
That's the thing, and that's why a lot of people who are pushing back at Az about his rant and stuff like that and trying to act like, oh, it's not a big deal, but it has taken over our entire culture. It's taken over gaming to where it's super normalized, but even in the real world, in schools, and like he just said, his job as a mechanic, it's gotten way out of hand. And so we do need to be speaking out about this kind of stuff.
Well, I went to an aquarium with my kids this weekend, and they had the staff listed, and they had all their pronouns listed.
Oh, wow.
At the staff
Here in Texas?
So
Yeah,
wow.
it's just one of them things. Like it's like I said, it's an individual thing, and it's about respect, right?
Yeah.
Companies don't need to mandate it. We don't need to have laws about it. We don't need that. If you respect people and people treat each other with respect, if somebody accidentally mislabels you of how you want to be labeled, just say, hey, that's not how I want to be called. Can you call me as this? And if you're nice about it, they probably will. Now, some people might not, because some people are douchebags, but douchebags are everywhere.
Right. Captain Anonymous Weasel came back, says, me and my wife are in the center and have been shunned from both sides. So we understand. Much love. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I'm a centrist. I lean more towards the liberal side, but I'm a centrist. But of course, you would think I am like the most conservative person in the world.
That's how they treat you. And yeah, I lean a little more to the right, but I'm still close to center. And I get hate from both sides as well. I get hate a lot from the left, calling me an extreme right extremist, but then I get hate from the right as well because I have tattoos and because I'm not married with 5 kids. And so it's
right. And then you get then you're a fake, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Right. They're like, oh, you're a fake conservative because you're a fake conservative, you're a feminist and all this stuff. And it's like, first of all, I never even claimed to be this super trad conservative. I'm just me, and I'm sharing my opinions on things. There's just some overlap there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think to bring it back around, that's why these conversations are important, to talk to both sides so that
Mhm.
we can get a perspective, and people watching can get a perspective from each side.
All right, well, let's go and watch this video. We've been talking about it for a little bit. I think it's good for us to actually see what he had to say. Travis, have you watched this?
I watched parts of it. It was like 6 a.m. when somebody
Okay.
messaged it to me.
Let's take a look at this.
Been
And you guys tell me when to stop whenever you guys want me to stop.
playing a ton of Starfield. Absolutely loving this game. I checked out some of the discourse online of these folks who are upset that the game offers pronouns. I just wanted to speak to that very briefly because there's this one guy, like a lot of them are grifters, right? A lot of them are just like, oh, make money, whatever, dude, go fuck up society and make your ducats, whatever. Capitalism sucks. At least
a lot in that little sentence, but we'll continue.
Wow.
I also think it's amazing that this guy who is, look, let's call a spade. He's probably very wealthy from being the game director of a major franchise.
Right.
Saying, "Oh, capitalism sucks."
He made God of War, right?
Right,
Yep.
right.
There's a whole lot of sexism in God of War.
Right.
man.
And I pointed that out in that video too that I made last year.
So, I mean, if you really want to be a real moral of authority on things, then be a moral of authority on things.
Well, like I said, I don't want to anybody can pick things out as they go, but I just find that there's intense irony with all this.
Yeah.
For sure.
oh, make money, whatever, dude, go fuck up society and make your ducats, whatever. Capitalism sucks, at least the way we have now. And I get it. I don't appreciate it. I don't condone it, but I get it. But there are those that are serious. There's this one guy, I don't know his show. I know he has like a Super Nintendo logo. He did a pretty good interview with Colin Moriarty, my buddy, a couple of weeks ago, which I enjoyed. But he put this video out about pronouns. This is not the guy who was shouting and looks like a thumb, although I look like a thumb too, but fuck you. He was just kind of going, I think I know his comparison was, he's like, hey, because he lives, I guess, in a place where there's lots of Mormons coming to your door. And he's like, well, what if the Mormons came to your door and said, let us proselytize? And it's like, no, thanks, goodbye. And they leave, and 5 minutes later they come back.
Let me pause
like,
for
no,
1
thanks.
second.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where he was confused. He was relating it to the one game, the one part in the game, and not this societal thing that we've been discussing today and we discussed during that entire stream.
Right. Henry's asking for more volume, but this is about as loud as I can get it. It's pulled up all the way, so this is based off his stream. But I just want to make sure we hear everything that he's saying here. And I know the sound is low. That's, like I said, this is about as high as we can get it. I think. Let me see if I can pull it up any higher. No, I cannot. So
Ruthless in the chat says something is up. He's looking down while talking. Well, it's a very personal issue to him. He has a trans child, so I think he's thinking from the heart, and that's where he's talking from. I'm not gonna say he's being disingenuous or lying.
Right. That's how I feel. I think it's actually a personal thing for him with his family and all that. So I do think he's actually believes what he's saying.
Right. Let's go to continue.
Thanks, goodbye. And they leave, and 5 minutes later they come back, and it's like, no, thanks, goodbye. And they come back again 10 minutes later, and it's like, oh my fucking God, stop shoving this down my throat, kind of thing. That's the idea. And he's like, it's the same thing, see? And it's like, first off, just very briefly, no, it's not the same thing. You didn't pay for the Mormons to come to your door and then complain about it, right?
Okay, so.
And there's another false equivalency because at least with the Mormons, when they come to your door, you know about it, what it is ahead of time.
Right.
When they marketed this game for people to pay for it, they didn't say that this value was going to be in the game, which has never been any of their games before. And that's why it's misleading.
I think it's worse if you're paying for it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I paid for this and I didn't want this. That's worse.
And to be clear, like, I was not talking about Starfield here. Yes, Starfield was the hot topic at hand. And yes, pronouns were a big part of it. I was talking about from a societal standpoint. Why, as pointed out in the chat, why should a mechanic have to have his pronouns on his name tag? Right? Why does a plumber need to have his or her pronouns whenever they identify themselves to a potential client? Right? There's no reason for that. There's zero reason for that. And that's what I mean by as far as it being
Well, and to
shoved down your
then
throat.
and then to then if you don't prescribe to that, be fired or lose your
Right.
job or pressured or made to feel uncomfortable, that's when it's an issue,
Mhm.
you know.
Right. So, and that's where this was mentioned. He brings it back to Starfield. At no point did I say Starfield. Right now, this is yes, like I said, there's something to it being in Starfield, and it goes back to Az's rant of like, I think this was just the tipping point for him. He was just,
Yeah.
it was like, fine, fucking God, just leave me alone. You know,
It's like Desiree said, it looks like a man who's been poked with 80,000 needles and finally snapped.
right. All right, so let's continue.
That's you didn't get a review going. The Mormons will bug you a lot. I don't know if they will. Whenever they came to my door, I would always invite them in and say, yeah, I don't believe in the God you believe in, or any God probably, but let's talk. And we talked for 30 minutes and they would just leave kind of like shocked. I don't know if they were more shocked that I invited them in or just that I had made them question their whole life path. But regardless,
I think that's kind of arrogant, by the way, of him.
I
He's
think that
right.
is who I was gonna say.
Why
'Cause
would you even invite them in to do that to them?
yeah.
Well, I mean, he wants to have a conversation, which is fine. And he says some things in here about, well, we'll get to it in a little bit. Hold on, let's continue.
His take on it was, they're like the Mormons. And I'm like, no, because you didn't pay for the Mormons to bug you or anything. They just came
Again,
and,
you
actually
know
got
what
their
the
ratings.
Mormons are there for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And once again, I didn't pay for pronouns to be shown up on
Yep.
on social media. I didn't pay for them to show up at the, like I said, going back to the mechanic example. I
Mhm.
didn't pay for them to show up at Target or whatever store that I shop at.
Right.
I didn't pay for that. I
And
just
in the
showed up.
vein of this specific game, they didn't market it that it was going to
Right.
be in there. So how would you know?
People paid to explore space in this game. They
right.
didn't pay for that.
They
Yep.
paid for normal games that this game company has made before, and this has never been in their games before, and it's new to their games. So why would anybody expect it to be in their games? They wouldn't. They would expect the opposite. So when it shows up in there, and that's their release from reality,
Yep.
and it's there, and it's a surprise because you didn't say anything.
Yep.
Ta-da!
All right, let's continue.
Install Starfield, buy Starfield or Game Pass, and that's on you. Okay. And you could have read the reviews or before you did it. Okay. So his analogy is not very good. But beyond that, there's an arrogance there because somebody in his Twitter feed was talking to him about, why are you so upset? Or I forget what the question that prompted his response, but his response was, they're taking away our games. There was this sense of entitlement and ownership. It's like these are ours and they're taking them away.
To be clear, I have not responded to that Twitter thread at all. And I
Right.
certainly didn't respond with that way. I don't feel ownership around my games. I don't feel that.
I gotta say I kind of do though, but in a different way. In the fact that gaming culture has changed dramatically since it's been hijacked by a lot of these woke people, to where we had our all the nerds, all like a lot of us grew up where that was the uncool thing, and people were bullied over this kind of stuff. And so once it gets more mainstream, all of a sudden, a bunch of other people, dear people, and people making up fake genders and things of that nature have waltzed in and wanted the entire gaming culture changed. Then yeah, they have hijacked our hobby. And yeah, I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
Well, and it's so this is why I brought up the percent equivocation earlier. Is that what are the percentage of trans people that would like to go through a trans story in a game? Well, then that should be how many games are made for those people, because it is a popularity thing. They are a company that's out to make money. That's why they added this into the games, to get that other percentage of population. Well, make a game for those people. Well, they won't do that because it won't sell enough copies.
Exactly. And what we've seen with like Anita Sarkeesian, for example, who inserted her feminism into the gaming industry when she admitted she's not even a gamer. We have a lot of these activists who have waltzed in the gaming community who aren't gamers. And then in addition to that, we're seeing gaming culture change even in the difficulty of video games. We're seeing a lot of video games that are just glorified stories with a little bit of walking simulator, or the gameplay just isn't as dynamic as what games used to be, because they're trying to appeal to everyone, including all of these activists who care more about a message in a game and looking at pretty pictures than they do actually playing the game.
Let's go continue with this. As once again, he's saying I'm saying things that I never said. He's attributing arrogance to me in a response that I never actually said. And once again, he's the one who has invited people in to his house, and he feels he's altered their life forever based off of a 30-minute conversation. So let's go continue.
And I'm like, that is so arrogant and so entitled. I'm like, they're not yours. These are products people make, and they hope a lot of people will play them. And sometimes maybe there is a go woke, go broke scenario that occurs, and a lot of times there's not, where you can go woke and still make a lot of money. Barbie's a pretty woke fucking movie, most successful movie in the history of Warner Brothers, more than Harry
Can we
Potter, more than
pause that?
Batman, so I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
Barbie wasn't marketed as a woke movie.
you're right.
So
you actually are
True,
correct. Yeah.
true.
There was, so again, they put it in there without marketing it. Had they marketed it as such, I doubt as many people would have seen it.
Yep.
Right. And I think that was kind of the idea of like, well, Barbie was successful. I think that's awesome. Great. Good for Barbie. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful success story. Right. But let's not hide the fact that this is built around an IP that has been around for 50, 60, 70,
That was
80
very
years.
sexist when it started. That was very misogynist when it started. That was very, you know what I'm saying? So come on.
Right. And for every Barbie that's successful,
It was racist. How many black Barbies were there until recently? So let's not go there. How many Latina Barbies were there? How many, you know what I'm saying? So let's not go there with the Barbie shit.
right. And I think for every Barbie that was successful, you can point to 10 examples that weren't successful because of something that was the way it was marketed, or we're going to change this. We're going to make it into a modern day equivalent, or whatever it may be. Like, I don't think yes, that's amazing. But the idea of pronouns weren't marketed in the Barbie movie. They weren't, none of the patriarchy stuff was put in the trailer. Like, this movie's about the patriarchy, Go ahead.
Just look at like Disney Snow White right now. All of the live action Snow White stuff, just with the marketing, the interviews, all that kind of stuff that's been coming out with Rachel Zegler, and throwing the old school actual original Snow White under the bus because, it was made in the old times and it's not feminist enough now, and all this and that and the other. It's just getting ripped apart. It's to the point to where I think Disney would probably be better off not even releasing it.
Right. And it's not going to do good because of all that stuff. So why didn't they market the Barbie movie that way? Profit motive.
Yep.
Why didn't they market this game with that stuff in it and be honest up front? Profit motive.
Yep.
So anyway.
Again, why do people fly gay pride flags at their business? Profit motive.
Right. And then take them down literally the day the month is over. Right. And not market it that way in Saudi Arabia or what, it's like, well, of course, it's all driven by profit. You are a pawn. But once again, the idea of going back to, well, Barbie was successful. So there's, it's the most successful. Like I said, congratulations. I think that's awesome. Barbie wasn't marketed that way. It was marketed as a fun story.
I think it proves the opposite of his point in my mind.
I agree. Yeah.
Let's go continue.
Movie in the history of Warner Brothers, more than Harry Potter, more than Batman. So I don't know what to tell you, but sure, whatever. But it's your choice, and I respect that if you don't want to, be around that. But you aren't entitled to these games. And the funny,
once again, nobody said that.
Wait, and neither are trans people entitled to have pronouns put into the game.
Yep.
So I think it goes both ways.
Right.
Part is that art and creativity. Look, the it's usually made by people who are not conservative minds. And I don't mean this disrespectfully when I say conservatives have more rigid thinking. That's the definition of what a conservative is. They like things the way they were. They don't like a lot of change. They like, a sense of order, and they don't like to mentally put themselves in other people's shoes. They know what they like. They don't go outside the
He's conflating. See, he's trying to say political conservatism is the same as being a personal conservative, and that's two different things.
I think the idea of conservatives traditionally don't like to put themselves in other people's shoes. I think that's a really shallow way of thinking. You're like, well, this is the way they clearly think. They don't want to think about anybody else's feelings or thoughts. It's like,
he's conflating isolationism as political conservatism and personal conservatism as political conservatism, and they're two complete separate things. It's a fallacy.
Fence all that much, blah blah blah. That's a definition of a conservative. Like literally, they are a conservative. They want to conserve the way things are, and that's great. But you're not going to get a lot of artists and theater kids and geeks and out of the box thinkers, and those are the people.
I will say this. The idea of the arts, yes, that is 100%. Stereotypically, that is accurate, right? The idea of in the arts space, you talk about like when we were growing up, and it holds true when you think of like theater. That's where the gay kids were, right? That's where the flamboyant kids were, right? The artists are flamboyant. They want to get their feelings out on canvases, right? So naturally, in video game space, that is an extension of these other arts.
Don't you guys think that that's a societal thing, though? That because conservatives aren't welcome in those industries?
Yes.
Look at the conservative actors are all pushed out.
I agree with this completely. And I've always leaned a little more on the conservative side, but I've always been really into art, into drawing, and I took theater in college, like that sort of thing, but I felt alienated around them. And so a lot of people who are more conservative, who are in those spaces, just don't feel like they can be vocal about it or express themselves because they're going to feel out of place. And especially with the way that culture is now, on that side, they will just absolutely want to ruin you and treat you like a complete enemy, just for having different ideals than they do.
Right. And I'm not a conservative. I'm looking at this from the outside.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that he's literally pointing out the disservice and I wouldn't call it racism, but I don't know the word to use, but the bad things that people do in that industry to conservatives.
Discrimination.
There we go. The discrimination of conservatives in that industry drives conservatives out of that industry. So it's a cyclical circle. And I think he proves his own point wrong.
But and there's one more thing that he says here that I want to really key on.
You get a lot of artists and theater kids and geeks and out of the box thinkers, and those are the people that tend to make creative entertainment.
The idea of an out of the box thinker is the thing that really is amazing to me, because if you're thinking of like art on a canvas, right, or music, these are the out of the box thinkers. Some of the biggest out of the box thinkers are business owners, are conservatives, and don't get me wrong. There's a ton of liberal business owners, but there's way more ways to think about outside the box art, right? And it's more than just music, acting, putting paint on a canvas. So.
Yeah, but even Weasel in chat makes a good observation here, saying if conservatives weren't artistic, explain every religious masterpiece in any museum. That's also a fair point.
Let's go continue here.
They just are. And there are some conservative entertainment creators, and there are.
Can you pause it? I'm sorry. So I just Googled this: conservatives in entertainment. Conservative and or Republican actors: Gina Garino, William W. Barber, John Voight, Dean King, Kurt Russell, Gary Sinise, Kevin Sorbo, Cherry Ladd, Kid Rock, Tom Berenger, Andy Garcia, Bill. I don't know his name.
So the point is that there
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Right.
Yeah.
People you wouldn't even think are.
Well, and a lot of these people, they've been ostracized
Yes,
since they've come out and said that they feel a certain way. If they feel conservative or whatever, or they don't
Mhm.
they don't feel the shot was our mandates were warranted. You know, they've been pushed.
Right.
You know, they've seen if you it's very much if you don't think this way, then you're out, right?
Yep.
Well,
And
and they're labeled that. So somebody said Roseanne Barr in the chat.
Yes.
She was never a traditional conservative. She had the first lesbian kiss on her show. She
Mhm.
she pushed for gay people to be on her show. She pushed for black people to be on her show. I wouldn't call that in the 90s being conservative. You know what I'm saying? Not that I think conservatives are against that stuff, but
Mhm.
you know, I would say that she was liberal minded back then. Now she's been put into a box now because she has a few
Right.
conservative views.
Mhm.
And I think that's intellectually dishonest.
Yep.
you know, so the idea of like, yeah, we have this industry, and this is where all the people who don't think like you work. You know, he goes on. Well, let's just continue on.
Well, do they want to work there?
Conservative creators in the world of
Right, let's continue.
video games. Go play those, right? Fox News made a shit ton of money by, you know, recognizing there's this spot. You know, I think they've done a lot of damage, but recognizing there's this spot of super right-wing folks or even just middle-of-the-road conservatives that are like, we want media, we want news. It's a ridiculous concept of we want news for us, but we want news that is spun, just like all the news is spun to some degree.
Okay, at least he could admit that at least the news is spun. That's all. That's
Mhm.
all it is, right? And I always, that's the example they always go to is like, oh, well, Fox News, right? I haven't I've watched 0 Fox News the last like 4 years,
Right.
like probably ever. You know, like I don't watch that stuff. You know, so the idea of like, oh, you know, conservatives and Fox News and blah blah blah, that's always like the go-to. And
Well,
yeah, Fox has been tremendous successfully, by the way.
he's right. Any news has a slant, even the ones who try not to have a slant, because it's all about their perspective of life. Truth is in the eye of the beholder. There is a real truth, but you never know it because your view is slanted by your own life.
Let's continue.
To our worldview, and they've made bank for decades. Okay, so I'm not being a dick when I say go play something else. I'm saying maybe there's a great business in that for people. I mean, hell, I don't imagine tons of liberals and progressives like me were going out and playing Deer Hunter, but that was the massive fucking thing for a long time. But you're not owed Starfield. You're not owed these games. And so if these creative types, of which I am one, and I was one working in that industry for a very long time, have certain views where they are empathetic, or literally they are, in a lot of cases, the people who they are making these decisions about, like whether you're talking about transgender folks or LGBT folks or whatever, you know, they're going to make what they want to make. And I mean, obviously within reason. I mean, it's a business as well, but so far the business has not shown that people like this guy are right. So it's like, just
Okay, so once again, he's lumping me into this,
Mhm.
right?
So
Like,
then he should just be upfront with that again.
Right. And something else I don't like about this is where he's saying, "Oh, well, you're not entitled to this. You're not entitled to that." Well, a lot of the people speaking out are longtime Bethesda customers. They have been
Yes.
supporting Bethesda for so long. Look at Dan, big Bethesda fan. Like they have supported Bethesda as a company. Their input should matter.
Right. And he's generalizing you, Craig, as these people.
right,
These people.
right.
Yep.
Who are
These
these people?
Once again, never said Starfield once.
It's like
But
somebody said something about a nerd to Blabs. Like we need to get these people, because they said she was saying anti-trans stuff, and I didn't see any of it, but that we need to get these people out of our community. I said, who's we? First of all, I've been a nerd since I was 3 years old, before you were born. So speak for yourself, not we. Thank you.
right. All right, let's go and continue. We're almost there. We're making our way through.
just go play, you know, play a game with voice acting with Chuck Norris and Scott Baio and John Schneider. And
So once again, they always go back to like, you know, the people that you just listed and see how many times, you know, like what's amazing is Chuck Norris, Scott Baio, whoever, you know, the people that you're referencing, what have they done? Like, obviously Chuck Norris is really old,
Recently,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Like since they've been more outspoken about their political beliefs, they have once again been ostracized. The idea of Tim Allen going back and being Woody in Toy Story 5 is legitimately shocking, because like that was when they announced Tim Allen was going to be back and being Woody again. People were like, "Are you serious?" wow, like I can't believe it. You know, that was legitimately kind of shocking. So,
God forbid he voice a character.
right.
Well,
Hey,
and it's,
Blabs, good to see you.
hey, Blevs, it's also one
Blabs.
of them weird things. Like, you know, if people see the industry ostracizing these conservative people, and then they don't get work when they voice their views, like, and then they say, well, don't voice your views where all the liberal ones get to, and they don't get ostracized. So, you know, but if new actors see that and they are conservative, are they going to speak up? Are they going to want to be in that industry?
Yep.
So why is the industry full of all those people? Maybe because the other people aren't welcome.
And I said Woody, I meant Buzz. Yes, he's going to be, Tim Allen's going to be Buzz Lightyear again. And look, I'm not there. Look, there's something to this statement. So it's crazy how someone who created one of the most misogynistic games for the PlayStation 2 era thinks he can play the moral arbiter, right? This is a game, you know,
agree.
God of War is a game that famously featured sex scenes that gave you health, and featured women with big old tits hanging
Also
out,
showed
you know?
big dudes beating the fuck out of women and decapitating them and ripping
Using
their
women
heads
as door
off.
stoppers and
Right.
So let's just keep in perspective the stuff he's made.
Let's continue.
These are all old guys. Who the fuck is John Schneider? I don't know who the young conservative performers are, but you know, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there ain't
Go be
none. They were
conservative.
pushed out. Sorry.
Enjoy it, but don't act as if you're owed creative product that's a certain way. You're not. So it's not like the Mormons. And if you don't like, I mean, here's the funniest part though, really quickly. So this,
And he could have been done, but he continues here. So
this was because I've been playing the shit out of Starfield. Love it. Maybe my favorite game of the year, if not beyond. This is a guy who's complaining at the title screen. A bunch of these guys. I saw Disrespect do it, and I saw this guy do it, and I saw the crazy guy do it.
once again, did not do that.
Well,
once.
and once again, we were talking about all the surprises in the game and all the surprises in all media and all mediums.
As Hayden says, the thing is, it wasn't even about pronouns. It's about the ideology crammed into everything. Right. Right. So let's continue.
I saw that young woman who's like, oh, I'll be sexy and I'll be conservative. That's a sweet grifter spot. Maybe she's serious. I don't know.
And who's he even talking about?
I don't know, but I need to watch her. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, I you know, a few people come to mind, but then I'm like, they don't always dress sexy. It's just so you perceive that because you think they're attractive. So in your mind, they're dressing sexy. That in and of itself is sexist.
Right.
But you're caught up on a title screen of a game that if you want it, you can be a captain of your own starship. You can be the manliest motherfucking man in the world. You can make your character look almost just like Joe Rogan, and you can go out into the world and you can create.
Yeah, it's kind of odd that he used Joe Rogan as the manliest man character in the world. I'm assuming because he feels Joe Rogan is right wing when Joe Rogan is wants to vote for Bernie Sanders, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Joe Rogan is is like me. He's a liberal libertarian. He is a libertarian on he's liberal on social issues and libertarian on governmental issues. That's why he would vote for Bernie Sanders. I'm sure he would have voted for Ron Paul when he ran 10 years prior, which is on the other side.
Create a crew for your spaceship short of a couple of force missions where you have to go with an individual, where 95% of your experience is traveling around on a spaceship filled with women, right? And they don't have pronouns and they don't talk about them, they're just a lot of them are hot, depends on the NPCs, but hot women flying around in a starship by a male captain and he's the only guy on board. You can do that in this game.
So he's saying like, look, these are all the traditional things that you want. This, there's hot women, there's manly men. Look at how awesome this is. Try to bring it back
again. And this is something I said not on the show, I don't think, but somebody brought up a great point. If somebody is trans and they feel they were born in the wrong, so say me. So say I was born a man and I feel like I'm a woman and I want to transition, or I do transition, or I'm in mid-transition. Wouldn't I then choose the woman option?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what
I
I don't understand is that I don't think it makes sense. And I don't see why a trans person would want to play as a trans character. They would just want to play as
the
what
male or
they're
woman
trying to
because
be.
right,
Yeah.
because that's who they feel they are, so be that then. You would think that would be the ultimate outlet. So instead of having to have had transitioned in your life or whatever, you get to now live this life of this person who is what you wanted.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
Well, it's not for you to understand, Travis. Here you go. Let's continue.
Tragically, but I mean, I support the medium. You can go around and kill people as long, you know, you're going to get in trouble for it unless you're really sneaky, but you can do that too. You can go around and kill people you don't like in this game. If you're
All things conservatives like. You can go around and
Yeah,
murder
like
people. Yeah,
murder.
come on. This is great. You got guns. Like, stereotypes is amazing.
like, you look like
I guess
a liberal.
I guess he's going around feeding the homeless aliens.
Let's go continue.
And that's
here.
what he does when he plays Starfield.
This is amazing here. This is so such a reach. This is awesome.
Too, you can go around and kill people you don't like in this game. If you're like, you look like a liberal kind of dumb thinker. I'm going to kill everybody that looks like they watch MSNBC. Okay.
What the fuck is that about? Like, does he like is
Wow.
this like legitimate thought process of how these people think? Like the idea when I say these people who are so accepting, so welcoming, do they really think that people that don't think like them want to go around and literally murder people that don't think like them? Like, how close-minded, how much of a bubble do you have to be in?
Well,
Like, I'm
there's
trying.
just no self-awareness there either because people like Nina Infinity, she made tweets saying she uninstalled the game and she got a refund on the game, and she got so many death threats, grape threats, all that sort of thing from that side, you know, from the woke side. So yeah, that's definitely projection.
It's just insanity, to be honest. Like, because literally, you could say the same thing about the other side.
Yes.
Like, I at no point do I feel that there are people who are so, I don't know, like so inspired by pronouns that they want to go around and murder conservatives. I don't feel that way, right? The idea that he would feel that way about anybody who is center or right, like, is just mind-blowing to me. But this is what you guys like. This is what, you know, like, once again, as a guy who is
Well, it's generalizing, isn't it?
Of course.
So every conservative must own 1,000 guns. Every conservative, all conservatives, all mass shooters are conservatives, you know, even though that's not the truth. You know, it's a generalization. He thinks, well, since they're for pro guns, then they're the ones who want to go out and shoot people. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not a rational thing, a leap to make. Crazy people are crazy people. Crazy people, I don't think most of the time have anything to do with ideology, you know, Republican or Democrat. And if it does, it's hijacked for the craziness.
People make everything about politics, and it's just getting ridiculous to where you can say something that you like that's entertainment, and it's like, oh, you must be this or you must be that because of that. And it's like a lot of people like myself don't make every facet of our lives about politics. I honestly make very little about politics. I don't really like politics, but for some reason, if I have a stance on, oh, I like classic Lara Croft, that makes me alt-right extremist.
Right. Yeah. Well,
it's
and it's just, it's insanity. It's just all insanity.
Well, I mean, once again, they're going to say, well, you can't say whataboutism. But yes, what about if you were to take exactly what he said and just flip it, right? Like, it sounds insane. It sounds insane. And I open this saying he sounds pretty rational. And the reason I say that is because he's calm when he's saying it, because he honestly believes this, right?
Right.
And I think that's the scariest part about this, is that he feels that they are, look, if you want to make a starship that of people who have blue hair and they watch MSNBC and you want to murder them, go right ahead. Like, who the fuck is doing that? Zero people.
Right.
What if the other side said to him, well, if you are gay and you want to go around and abduct children and be a space pedophile, and equated it that way, because maybe conservatives assume all liberals are pedophiles. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So don't do that, because it's dishonest, it's disingenuous, and it makes individuals out to be something that they're not.
Let's continue this fun.
I'm going to kill everybody that looks like they watch MSNBC. Okay, you can do that in this game. You can go into the biggest news organization in the known universe of the Starfield universe and lay waste to it.
Once again, all great things, fun to do, huh? Let's go.
And again, that would break the immersion of the game, which was the whole point. They don't want the immersion broke. They're not going to take their outside shit that they have problems with into the game. That was the entire fucking point.
Or at least the parts you can get access to. All right. So this game that will let you live out what I consider to be very dumb, dangerous, cruel fantasies, you are or totally not, could be misogynistic fantasies, but also just really, whatever you're into, sexy fantasy.
Once again, the guy who made PlayStation 2's God of War, where sex scenes and there's giant boobs, and if I to the point where I can't even show those cutscenes on stream because we'll be demonetized. But let's go and continue.
Jeez, I'd love to be a ship captain and all the crew. It's like sexy Star Trek, but all the ladies are like Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez. That's a show or a porn anyway.
Or a porn?
I don't know. Just
but you can do that. And that's not misogynistic. That's just fun. That's just sexy porn time.
He's saying a lot of stuff that nobody's even asking for.
And
Nobody said this but him.
And isn't that all degrading and dehumanizing to women? So you can have Taylor Swift and this star on there, and it's just sexy porn time.
He's just saying things in a way, because people who are advocating for beautiful characters, I'm one of them, because I love classic Lara Croft and such. It's different because it's not saying, oh, I need just something sexy on the screen and I don't care about the character at all. People who are advocating for these characters actually like the characters. We actually like their personalities, their lore, all that sort of thing. So we're seeing them as more than just, oh, here's just something that needs to look sexy and that's that.
Well, and that's just for the characters. He used real fucking people as examples.
That's what. Yeah, that
like, are you kidding me? It blows my mind. And then wants to moralize about things.
Yeah,
I would really like to talk to this guy, because I honestly, I think there's a lot of middle ground that we could agree on. But I would just like to see where he's coming from, because a lot of this just doesn't make sense to me. I think he got lost a little there on the way.
I think so.
Let's I was just pulling up once again. It's kind of like, he's talking about misogyny and stuff, and this is the guy behind one of the most misogynistic characters, most manly characters in video game history. As a matter of fact, I think that we made a top 10 back in the day. Manliest characters back in the day.
And it's not that he's talking about that. He's talking about that in reference to conservatives saying this is what they would want to do.
Right.
So these are all examples that he's talking about that in his mind, conservative people would want in the game.
Right.
And that to me shows me all he thinks about conservatives, and shows me that they are all in that group.
And the funny
brain.
thing about it is a lot of conservatives are against porn. So it's
like, yes. That's the crazy part. Have 90% of them would be more chaste than, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just he's classifying them all as that macho, that one type of Republican. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Well, once again, I went back and looked, and we rated Kratos the number 9 most manly character of all time in video games, right? And it's like, I just
why in God of War didn't he have a chance make it okay for Kratos to be trans?
Why didn't Kratos have pronouns?
And I just want him to answer that seriously. And has he worked on any games recently, and why haven't they?
So he has, but not since 2017. But we'll get to that in a minute.
And how old's his child? And here's my thing: Did it only matter to him when he had a child?
Well,
Mhm.
and look, I mean, I don't like to talk about other people's families, right?
Right. But that's
but-
how things become personal to people.
Right,
You know
right,
what I'm
of
saying?
course, of
And
course.
I'm not attacking him about that. I'm just curious about it because
Yeah.
did he see a problem with it before?
Right.
Let me go and read off some of these super chats before we still got about another minute left, and there's a lot in the final minute. So stick with us here as we continue on. As Shane came in, says the whole crazy pronoun madness just shows how freaking good we have it in this country. Sorry for my foul language. Listen, Shane, you're gonna get banned for that freaking. Shane, you're not wrong, man. It's crazy. Blake says woke Mortal Kombat. Finish Zer. Kyle came in and says Batman is built off the religious values. Don't kill. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate that. Hayden came in with timestamp, says he didn't see Az do that either. It's a lie. He has timestamps. On his first Starfield stream is the pronoun reaction. On the second is the clone, and second stream was Az's rant.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Hayden.
As we were talking about, he saw the one clip, and that's what
Yep.
he reacted from, and that's why he in this whole thing he uses generalizations because he didn't listen to our whole conversation, so he has to generalize.
Ventario says, "What a poop." Ventalo, thank you so much, Ventalo. Appreciate that.
Thank you for that.
Darren Murphy says the video game industry is also not entitled to our money.
Exactly.
His stance is similar
Yes.
to the comic book industry and 10 years ago, and maybe he should look at them now.
And if they were
Exactly.
intellectually honest, they would have let you know that stuff was in the game. So
Yep.
if you didn't want to buy it, you wouldn't buy it. But they wanted to make your money.
Yep.
Gizmo Hibiki says, kill all these people who watch MSNBC.
Well, that would be a lot of conservatives too, because a lot of conservatives watch MSNBC.
No, they don't.
There's
Don't lie
such
to
thing
yourself.
as hate watching, guys.
Oh, that's true.
True.
I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of views on this
Oh, my God.
for hate watching
for
for reasons.
just talking about this. This is great. Kyle came in and says, meanwhile, who's advocating for the Ukraine war? I don't know, Kyle. I don't know. You gotta ask David Jaffe about that. And ZXO came in as a brand new member and
Hey.
gifted 20 members.
Ooh.
That is awesome.
So
thank
we
you
got balls today.
That's
Two
amazing.
sets of them from two different people.
Hey, if you got gifted those memberships, make sure you guys say thank you. Once again, those memberships are huge. Our goal every show, 20 memberships, and we genuinely appreciate that. We still got another minute to go on this video, almost there. But Matthew came in with the 10, says, when Craig mentioned old Screw Attack bids, it reminded me of the old days of the internet and how when I was younger, gaming was better and I wasn't bombarded with modern thinking. Well, that's just, you're just such a crazy conservative, Matthew. And you
Well,
wanted to keep things the same.
and if you remember back then, it was even more complex because they had to do translations, and then certain Christian things couldn't be in games back then, and all that. And certain Buddhists, they would have to change items from a Buddha thing to a cross for our region, and all that. And, yeah.
Sal came in with a $2 direct donation. Says the man who made two of the most violent characters in gaming history with Sweet Tooth and Kratos, saying others have violent thoughts. Dude projecting so hard right now.
He made Sweet Tooth?
Yeah, he did Twisted Metal. Yeah, back in the day.
What the fuck?
All right, let's continue on. We got another minute here. I appreciate all y'all's support today. Thank you very much.
This game that gives you all that freedom, the time of day, because on the character creation screen, the developer has put a choice in for those people out in the world who either want to role play with gender or who already are like, hey, that's me. I'm non-binary. I identify as non-binary. Poop. I can have my.
Oh, did he say poop or poof?
I think he meant to say poof.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Banned. Let's continue.
fantasy in this game. Hey, that's me. I'm non-binary. I identify as non-binary. Poop. I can have my fantasy in this game too. How selfish of you to not want them, to not allow them to feel as if you are being the one who's harmed here when you're being given a simulation. You can do,
Yeah, but then again, like we said, if they are trans, they would just choose the male or female because that's what they believe they are.
Yeah,
So
and
they have their option.
right. And if he's going off about non-binary and stuff, well, then where do you draw the line? Do you have to represent dear people too? Do you have to, when it comes to making up genders, there's an infinite amount. You can't represent them all.
Right. And it goes back to, well, when it comes to representation, right? How dare Starfield not include people in wheelchairs as a playable character? How dare they not include blind people?
They're being ableist.
Right. It's ridiculous. So if you want to go down that route,
How
go down that
dare
route.
them not include a beautiful woman and an ugly woman and a mid woman? How dare them not include a handsome man or a ugly man or a mid man? Because we need to all be represented. How dare them not do every height?
Yeah.
We need people up to the tallest man in the world, to the shortest person in the world. We need the people who identify as dogs and wear them little dog hats. We need all that, because how dare them be
Mhm.
upset? Come on.
Just not inclusive. That's all. Let's go continue.
You are being the one who's harmed here when you're being given a simulation where you can do, a whole hell of a lot compared to most games to live out whatever fantasies you've got,
including murdering people, by the way.
But it's not okay for them. I mean, talk about entitled and selfish, man. There's a point where you just have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, I'm an asshole, right? I mean, unless you're grifting, you're a different kind of asshole. But if you're serious, you got to look in the mirror and go, wow, I'm a really mean guy. I'm the bully. I'm the fucking bully that I was supposed to hate. But no, that's me. I'm the
Who
asshole.
did we
Think about that.
bully?
Think about
I
that.
know. That's what I don't understand is who's being bullied here. Nobody is being attacked. Nobody is being singled out. Who's being bullied? I get that all the time. People tell me, "Oh, you're a bully. You're a bully." I'm like, just find where I'm targeting somebody and singling them out, please, and show me, because I don't do that.
Yeah. And like people were saying, I said anti-trans. I've never once said anti-trans. I just ask questions, the things that don't make logical sense to me. Like I
Yeah.
said, that's not anti-trans to say, why don't the trans people choose male or female? Because that's what they believe they are. Choose the thing you believe you are. You want to be called a female, then choose the female character.
Yep.
These are here's the problem with this is there's logic here that's being bypassed, right? And once again, nobody has said, but my games. I haven't said that once, right?
And none of us have said, well, the people who are born a male and feel female need to choose male. No.
Right. We're not telling them how they have to
choose.
play.
We want them to choose who they want to be. There's the options there.
Nothing's stopping them from playing a female character. We don't care what they're doing in their individual gaming time.
Right. Sorry I interrupted you, Craig.
No, it's fascinating to see kind of the twists and turns. And obviously, look, he's personally invested in this, right? He's been very public. He has a child who has gone through a transition process, right? So he's personally invested, and he's right. He's right because this is a decision that he made with his family. And who are you to tell him he's wrong? Look, I have my own thoughts about that, and I'm not one to, as I was from one parent to another, I'm not one to tell, talk about how someone raises their children, right? But it's amazing to see the jumps that were made in such a logical, I would say such a calm demeanor, which almost kind of makes it a little scary in a sense, because he very much believes this, right? But at some point he went from making Kratos badass motherfucker, I'm going to screw any girl that comes in my way and murder anybody by ripping off their head, to please accept pronouns. So what happened in there, right? What happened? What changed? What caused the immense change in mindset? These are questions that I'm curious about.
Well,
I don't know.
it's not even about the pronoun thing. It's adding extra pronouns that aren't needed.
Mhm.
That's the issue. And then, like I said, making a list of them. So you're assuming which one they're going to choose first. If you want to really be equal, make it a wheel so they're all equal. So that one doesn't seem like, oh, well, he picked the man physical character, so he's going to choose he, because that's the thing trans people don't like to begin with. So
Yeah.
literally, it's literally the pot calling the kettle black. Let's be real here.
We have Kyle came in with the $4.99, says non-binary is not a thing. They'd say the same about us who believe in the Adam and Eve story or the
Mhm.
story of Noah's flood. I refuse to validate them.
Right. It's just like, why is it if it's acceptable for them to say that, when I talk about the Bible and they're like, oh, you believe in fairy tales or whatever, they're entitled to believe that. They're entitled to say that. I disagree, but they are entitled to say that. And I'm not going to create a fuss over it. So why am I wrong for saying non-binary isn't a real gender?
Well, and like all things, if they're gonna include that in their game, they also need to include a menu to pick gay, straight, bisexual, asexual. They need to have a menu to choose Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever else other ones there are, and have the game tailored to those things too. Because
Mhm.
why is one more important than the other? And I think that's where the issue comes into it. Coming back to it being in all these little pieces of media, because we're not seeing those other things represented in media. It's just this right now.
Yep.
Chief Skarnak came in and says, if I could only enjoy video games where the main character looks like me, then I can only like Lester the Unlikely. Can't enjoy Mario because I'm not Italian. Thank you so much, Chief Skarnak. We got a few Rumble rants, which I want to read off, but I want to let you know that ZXO also gifted 20 more memberships to the channel.
Wow.
That is awesome and greatly appreciated. Let's stink and go. We're closing in on a record, actually. We're at 62 members, which is
How
spectacular.
many is our
Very
record?
good.
Well, we're about halfway there, but
Okay.
pretty great stuff. I think our record's 107.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Pretty good stuff. Dude says the removal of pre and post game lobbies already ruined most online games for me. Now they want to use AI to remove the few people who still talk in game. There's a reason why I play single player only. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that. Speaking of the AI Call of Duty stuff. A dude came back, says just play an amazing 11 out of 10 game, Metroid Dread instead of Starfield. Jaffe would be mad at that since he hated Dread because it used successful mechanics from previous games.
That's on my to play list. I have it right here.
I hear good things about it. And dude followed up and says, I wouldn't mind the pronoun BS if I could actively misgender people in the game, and some NPCs would like hearing that choice.
Well, I mean, wouldn't that be fair? I mean,
Yeah.
if you truly want to be fair and have
Mhm.
this experience and teach this lesson and let these trans people go through this game as what they view as them, well, then they need to face this adversity, because that's true.
Well, that's the problem. We need to remove that adversity and make everything awesome for everybody
Exactly.
all the
So
time, constantly.
if you're going to make them able to choose that, then the people who want to call them names or want to make fun of that or whatever, why is that not included? Because it's the other side.
Mhm.
I think this is the thing that is most amazing about this is, at the tail end of that, he devolved into, essentially calling names. You're selfish. You're a bully. Blah blah. And you hear, like, that's really what it comes down to is my feelings are hurt, and you're a bully because you don't believe in what I believe. Right?
Right.
You're selfish because you see this a certain way, because you're not accepting to the way that I believe. Right?
Mhm.
That to me is the bigger issue here. So I what do you say?
I also think you're 100% right, and that's how you knew it when it was a personal issue for him, is when he started the generalizations and attacks. As he was clearly very passionate about it, and I'm not offended by any of the generalization or attacks. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not.
Right.
It's just I think there's room for conversation there.
Of course. And once again, would love to have him on the show to have this conversation. I don't look. We've laughed at some of the things that he said, right? But I don't think I've had any personal attacks on him the entire time. I don't, there have been maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I said something that could be seen as a personal attack. But I think I've been very. We've attacked some irony in things that he said and done,
pointing out irony. Yeah.
Right,
and
right.
Me bringing up his kid wasn't meant in any way as a negative or an attack. I was just interested as when was it that the catalyst for him to start to care.
You were illustrating that he had a personal skin in the game, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Daramuth came in with the $5 Rumble rant. Says, my thing on the whole matter was less on the pronoun rant, more on the clone rant part. That sort of thing has been done in media past, like Sliders and many others. Heck, anime and manga has gender bent, right? And that was one of Az's rants was talking about the clone. Right.
Basically, yeah.
Right. Diana says, question. Why is anyone's business how I address my life? My faith says treat your body as a temple. So I honor that by loving my womanhood. Games allow you to fantasize, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I think that's kind of the most amazing thing about this is that, man, I love playing as Chun-Li. I love making characters. I love playing as a woman. Like if there's a man or a woman character, more often than not, I'm going to play as a woman character. Go back to, when we did things with Game Attack, right? When we do multiplayer, I was always a girl, always, like 100%, because it's fun. It's fun to that's the escapism that people are looking for, right? So I don't know.
Well, and if you think about it, it's one of those things that the clone thing has been done before. You're right. And that's what I said when we were talking to Dan. It's a little different. And people were disagreeing with me. You can't have a clone. It's not the same. Yes, you can have an exact clone of somebody who has the exact DNA, except they're female and not male. Okay, that is a possibility. They just don't have the X or Y. The X chromosome is the same as the Y chromosome with something added onto it. So they just don't add that on. That's the only difference. But anyway, it's just a bunch of things in the game. It wasn't that one thing. If it was just that one thing, that's overlookable. Yes, because it's a clone born into a woman's body, whatever. But there was clearly an agenda in the game. And that was my point. Be upfront with that.
Henry Davis came in with the $10 direct donation. It says, just sending another shout out. Great conversation today. Henry, thank you very much. Really appreciate that greatly. And ZXO gifted another 20 gifted memberships.
All right.
With Stardust Viking, another 20 gifted memberships. Let's go. That's awesome.
Are we how close are we now?
We're at 102 today. 102 new members.
120.
Wow.
I think 107 is our all-time goal. So we're close, man. It's amazing.
Well,
Thank you guys very much. That's spectacular, guys. Thank you very much. And Marvel Mind Trick came in with the 199 super chat. Thank you so much, Marvel Mind Trick. That's outstanding. Thank you guys very much. Like I said, open invite to David Jaffe to come on anytime he'd like. I'd love to have this conversation. Seems calm for the most part. Mm-hmm. He's obviously very close to the sun in all this. But people say, I saw someone say, why have him on? He sees you as the enemy. That's exactly why I want to have him on, because
then he won't see you as the enemy after you have him on. Well,
maybe he still will, but I guarantee, like people like Colin, right? Colin Moriarty, I guarantee they don't see eye to eye, but they're still able to have those conversations. And I think that's one thing that's missing, right, in the space right now. I think it would be very hypocritical of us to not have people like him on when the show encourages conversation. So if you guys do appreciate this type of conversation, once again, hit the subscribe button. Let people know this is happening. It's important that a show like this, a common sense show, can be had in the gaming space. I said this earlier, we're rolling a rock up a hill. And I know a show like this can work because I know that I'm not the only one who thinks like this, right? And there's a lot more of us who play games who are common sense people, who have common sense thoughts, who haven't been radicalized and totally, since the mid 2010s, who think like the world has thought of the entire
Of course.
Nice.
I'm still a viewer. I watch all the videos. So.
And the Mystery 801 became a new member. That's awesome. And oh my gosh, Shifty Eye Ninja came in with 5 gifted memberships. Outstanding. Wow. If you guys are gifted memberships,
we're setting a fucking record today.
All right.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And as ZXO gifted 20 more memberships to the channel.
That's got to be record now.
Yep,
we got to be at record. Oh, that's exciting.
Man, that's awesome. That is great.
You guys are just wonderful.
And you know what's going to happen with all these gifted memberships is people can see you grifters, you grifters. But hey, thank you so much. That is outstanding. We really genuinely appreciate that. Sonic wants to know what's on the Plays channel tonight. I need to do some work outside. I'm going to tell you straight up what I'm doing. I'm making a game.
Ooh.
I'm making a game.
I know a little bit about it, and it's exciting.
And
how fun!
I'm in the process of writing a game, so I gotta. And Melanie, I'll tell you about it once we finish up. But
awesome.
I'm making a game, and I think David Jaffe is going to go crazy over it.
Well,
all right. All right.
I do have a few more ideas, by the way, but I want to get the whole list done before I give them to you, because you never know. They might be something you might want to use for DLC or something.
Sounds good. People asking about, does it have a pronoun option? Listen, you guys are going to love this shit, man. It's great. Hey, Wolfbane Fire came in with the $4.99, says, as someone who used to work in the medical field, we had to go off biology instead of feelings when treating people. Just saying.
Yep.
Right. Put my feelings. So anyways, with that said, what's on the Plays channel? I think I'm going to take the day because I need to work on this. I need to write this game out because I have some deadlines I got to hit. And I can't wait to tell you guys about that soon. By the way, you guys have painted the chat green today. Really outstanding, and really appreciate that. Give it up for ZXO with, I think, 80 gifted memberships today. Just spectacular. So thank you guys very much. And as Cavatino says, this stream has been majorly sponsored by ZXO. That's right. Maybe that's what we'll do, is have sponsors on the show. Junior says, give us details about the game. Not yet. In time, but you guys will dig what I'm throwing down, hopefully. So, all right, with that said, I appreciate the conversation, man. This has been really, really good. Melanie, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you. This is fun.
It's always good to have these conversations. Once again, please go subscribe to Melanie's brand new channel, Bible Time with Melanie Mack.
Yay.
Subarashi wants to know if there's any memes. Travis, do we have any memes today?
Just the one, and it's about blabs.
All right, let's see what we got here. We got one
that
meme
I can
right
find
here.
anyway.
Let's go. This from Lethal Lightning came in, who is probably hanging out. It says, this person stole my Kick channel. Oh, there it is right there. Oh, she's live. She's live on Kick right now.
Oh, wow.
Maybe. I'll need to check it out and find out, see if they're live. So, she was live. That's good.
Okay.
So she took it. There you go. Darmouth came in with one more Rumble rant. Says, with all this pronoun talk, I wonder if fart will become a pronoun itself. You mean poof?
Poof, exactly.
How about start? I like start.
That's a good
I have a story that's probably not for a stream about my brother sharding once. But.
With all that said, it's time to get going. You guys have a great rest of your day. Poof, we're out of here. Remember, people are going to try to keep you down. Don't let them. You guys got to go get it. I'll see you guys tomorrow for SideScrollers. Once again, tomorrow, a one-on-one interview with Salty Cracker. So make sure you guys are here for that. I think salty and cracker will both be banned on Microsoft services very soon. So you guys have a great day. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Fatal.